What's going on, guys? I'm Maze, and recently we got a brand new preview for the upcoming Pokemon Sun and Moon anime episode. Episode 101, Fire, the twin sparkling Gigavolt of friendship, airing specifically on December 16th. So because of that, I decided for today's video that I will break down this preview, giving my thoughts and theories alongside it, while also updating you guys about this new news as well. So, with that intro now said, let's not waste any more time and jump right into this discussion. So before I break down the preview, I'm gonna read out the teaser summary we got for this episode, as it will help towards the breakdown later on. The summary states, quote, "A ruined Pokemon school appears before Ash and the others. Just where is this? Ash and Pikachu head into action in order to help Dia and Zeraora, who continue their celebratory fight against Guzzlord. Will they be able to restore the peace that the gigantic Ultra Beast Guzzlord robbed this place of? And will Ash and Pikachu be able to safely return home?" End quote. Looks like a pretty interesting part 2 for this story. However, with that now explained, let's now start to focus on breaking down that preview. So the first thing we get introduced to within the preview is Pikachu and Zeraora having a duel, which I find this to be pretty weird, seeming as the first part of this episode, if you haven't watched it yet, already had Ash and Dia battle, with Dia coming out victorious, and then both of them approach the Pokemon school, much like the summary for this episode stated. This scene cannot be a reference to that first fight either, seeming as the footage is new. So my only theory I can really come up with here is that towards the end of the episode, or maybe during the middle when Ash and Dia escape Guzzlord, Ash asks for a rematch so he can hopefully win this time around, really wants to try and defeat this mythical Pokemon. Some of you watching right now could be thinking instead that Ash and Dia fell out, which is why they are battling again. And well, although that could be a possibility, it seems unlikely to me that they would fall out in such an important moment within this current story, nor is there really any backstory I've seen so far to make that happen. But hey, I guess we can only really see who will be correct within a week's time. So moving on to the next scene, we then see Ash and Dia running underground, which Guzzlord then appears before them, and we then cut to a shot of Zeraora using its signature move, Plasma Fizz. Which it doesn't take a genius to work out that the entire story for this scene here is that Guzzlord found Ash and Dia, which they thought they could escape it by going underground. However, Guzzlord, given no f***s whatsoever, crashes down many floors just to try and attack our protagonist, which Dia then commands Zeraora to defend them. I think if this scene will still be taking place in the Pokemon School too, seeming as I don't see how Ash and Dia could quickly go to a new location in this episode. And seeming as the next scene we do get is Ash finding a peculiar photo, which that could possibly happen after they escape Guzzlord from that scene we just talked about. Focusing more on that photo though, it is actually meant to resemble Ash's alternate version of him and his friends. In the middle, we have Dia, which we know this thanks to the very similar hairstyles, and we did even get a flashback in the first episode of him wearing the exact same clothes here. The girl towards the left with Vulpix is meant to resemble Lily. They even have the opposite form of Lily's Vulpix, aka Kanto Vulpix, which also means Samsung Oak in Dia's universe has the Alolan Vulpix. The girl next to the alternate version of Lily has to be Lana, because she has a seal, which Lana of course is the only one in our Sun and Moon group who has a water type. The small guy with the Mulga has to be your boy Maze. Nah, just kidding. It's Sophocles because they are both small and have an electric rodent. The guy and girl towards the right has to be Kiori and Mallow, seeming as they are the only characters left. And finally, I'm guessing the guy next to Dia is the school teacher, aka Professor Kukui. Overall, this is such a neat touch to the episode, and I assume Dia will eventually find Ash looking at this photo, which he then goes on to explain how much he loved all of his friends before he unfortunately lost them, giving them characters more character and making us feel more sympathy for Dia and his alternate version of Alola. If you haven't watched part 1 to this episode though, the reason why this world is even in such ruins is because Guzzlord took over everything, making it its new world. At first, Dia and his friends did go on an Ultra Guardian mission to try and stop Guzzlord, but obviously as it suggested, it went horribly wrong, even resulting in Dia's friends becoming lost. And then, I guess Dia has been living in this world for many years, hence his unusual get-up, to try and survive and find a way to defeat Guzzlord, which he's been trying with Zeraora, a Pokemon he found. And then finally, Ash and Pikachu get transported to this alternate version of Alola by Tapu Koko, and even the alternate version of Tapu Koko, which I actually have a good theory of why that happened, but we'll get into that later. However, that concludes the story we learned in part 1. It's honestly so intriguing and even phenomenal because of the dark tone. However, I'll save the remaining of my thoughts on that story when I come to review that episode. The last thing I do want to touch on regarding this photo scene though, is that Dia might actually be based on Red, much like Ash is too, seeming as he used to wear very similar clothes to Red, which just make things even more interesting and very fantastic. Just please bear in mind though that Dia isn't actually Red, it's just close enough, you know, but it still makes me fanboy like crazy. Let me know in the comments down below though how you feel about Dia essentially being a Red. I love to hear. However, because of Dia's tragic backstory, I certainly don't see Dia being a rival to Ash in the Alola League like many people thought would happen, simply because he looked like Tobias. Instead, he of course will live happily ever after in this alternate version of Alola once the conflict gets resolved. Talking about conflict too, we now come to the final scene in this preview, which is Dia's Tapu Koko appearing before Ash and Dia, which they then both use Gigavolt Havoc together, making the title of this episode make complete sense too, the Twin Sparkling Gigavolt. Which my theory here is that Tapu Koko gives Dia a Z-Ring, Electronium Z, and teaches him Gigavolt Havoc, seeming as we did not see his character have a Z-Ring at all within the first part, which Dia and Ash then decide to use Gigavolt Havoc together to try and defeat Guzzlord, successfully managing to defeat the Pokemon. The Tapu Kokos then managing to teleport Guzzlord to another world to stop it from rampaging. The reason why the Tapu Kokos even sent Ash to this world in the first place though, was to help lend power to Dia to stop this uncontrollable power freak of an Ultra Beast, as not just one Z-move would be able to defeat it, but rather 2, from both experienced trainers. Because this is the Pokemon anime too, I can see a happy ending of Dia's world somehow returning to normal, acting like the destruction and event of Dia meeting Ash never happened. Basically, time shenanigans. Or if that theory is too out there, maybe we can still get a happy ending with Dia at least being reunited with his friends. Although, I am definitely clinging onto the everything returns to normal theory. It just seems very Pokemon anime-like, you know? What do you think will happen at the end though? Let me know in the comments down below, along with your overall thoughts on this preview so far. I love to hear. As that everybody, concludes the preview breakdown. Honestly, it looks like it will be another extraordinary episode. The Sun and Moon anime is now finally returning to its former greatness after a bit of a rocky road. That being episode 91 to episode 99. But that's just my opinion. Ooh, I cannot wait to review part 1 as well. Stay tuned for that on the 11th at 4 PM GMT. If you haven't watched part 1 to this episode though, aka episode 100, then be sure to. You won't regret it. By far one of the best Sun and Moon episodes ever, which this episode will follow on through as well. If you did enjoy this overall video though, then please do be sure to consider leaving a like, a subscribe and a share for future Pokemon content. It helps out a ton. You'll also become a member of the Entity Squad. Entity Maze merchandise is available in the description below too. For now, this is Entity Maze, signing out. Thank you for watching. I'ma go waste the rest of my day playing Smash Bros. Ultimate. It's so good.